Okay, so in this video we're going to finalize the night vision goggles and get them done and out the door. So let's put some finishing touches on this thing and get it done. Let's take this object here and we're going to have to symmetrize it on over to the other side. So with the object selected, Alt and right click on top of the object, go to Symmetrize Polygons, switch the axis from X to Z, make sure it's on global, and there we go. It flips it over onto the other side for us automatically. Now if we look at the picture, the little LED light, let's go back and open up the clip. The little LED light is only on this side over here. It's not on the other side, so we're going to leave that one alone. Of course the eyepiece has to be symmetrized, so let's symmetrize the eyepiece. Alt and right click on top of the eyepiece while it's selected, hit Symmetrize, switch the axis to Z, and it'll flip it on over to the other side for us automatically. There we go. Okay, so now that part's done, I'm going to fix some proportional issues here. If I look at my image, the scope here is pretty long and mine is actually pretty short. So I want to address and fix that. So let's see what parts I didn't exactly do at the right proportions. It looks like all this is correct. The only part that probably needs to be adjusted is this part here, which is this part, and this part here, which is a little bit short. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let me select this guy here, and I'm going to go to wireframe mode. Just go over here to shading options and turn on wireframe. I'm going to hit T on the keyboard to go to point mode, and I'm going to select all of these points here in the front. So all of these right here. If I go to shading mode, you can see what I have selected. And we can see we need to make that part longer, so let's use the move tool. I'm going to activate COG in global mode. I'm just going to pull it out to make it a little bit longer like this. Looks pretty good. I'm going to go back to wireframe mode, and I need to make the front here longer as well. So I'm going to select all the points here from the front and pull those out to make that part a little bit longer like that. Now when I look, that looks a little bit better. I want to be careful not to overdo it, however, which I think I did. So let me select all those points again, pull them back just a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to select the lens itself, and I need to obviously bring this lens forward. So about here's pretty good. As soon as it covers up the hole is good. Okay. Now I want to add a little bit of detail on the inside here of the lens housing. So let me knock this down to the lowest subdivision level. I'm going to go to edge mode of ray casting, select this edge, alt middle mouse button, click that edge so it picks the entire ring on the inside. I'm going to right click and split subdivide edges evenly so it cuts it right down the middle. Select that edge, alt middle mouse button, click that edge to select the entire loop. Let's right click and go to bevel components, and that size is actually pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is select this polygon here, alt and middle mouse button, click that polygon there. I'm going to hit Control D to extrude, and I'm going to scale this only in the X and on the Y and the Z axis, sorry, Y and Z, just a little bit down like that to make it nice and sharp. Then I'm going to hit Control D to extrude that again and pull it in a little bit more. Then Control D one more time and pull it in just a little bit more to make it nice and sharp. Now if I hit plus on the keyboard, on the number pad of the keyboard to subdivide this, make it smooth, we can see we have ourselves a nice little detail on the inside, which just adds a little bit more to the model. All those little details that you can put into the model really add a lot to the model, make it look more convincing, more realistic, and much better overall. Okay, so I'd say we're done with this set of night vision goggles. They look pretty good. As you can see in a quick render, they actually look pretty nice, despite the fact this render is very low quality and the lighting isn't very good at all. We can see that we added a lot of detail to this thing, and it really wasn't that hard to do it using SubDs. As long as you know the right techniques and the tricks to getting it done, well, SubDs can be your best friend when it comes to being a 3D modeler. Okay, so I'd say we're pretty much done with these goggles here. Next thing to do is to assemble everything together and export it out and get it ready to put into our final scene afterwards. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do that. What I'm going to do is select all the parts of the sub D here, and you can see it's made up of 12 parts. In our selection box it says multi and then 12 in parentheses. That means that we have 12 objects selected, so this is made up of a lot of objects. Let's go over here to freeze M and freeze modeling on all of this to clean it up. Okay, Alt and right click on top of the multiple selection on top of all those objects, and let's go to merge. Now let's hit the hide unhide button to hide all the original objects, the original 12 objects, because right now the new object we just created is called a polymesh over here. And this new object is a new object comprised of all the other 12 objects that we combined and put together. So another thing we want to do is this tolerance. We want to take that down all the way, because watch what happens. Let me come in here. These blue edges mean boundary edges. In other words, parts that are not connected together. Because remember, the lens is supposed to be separate from the lens housing over here. If this tolerance is up, XSI is going to blend and connect those points together. It's going to weld it back together, which is not what we want. So we want to make sure this tolerance is set to 0. The same thing, we don't want blend turned on, because blend's going to try to start blending stuff together, which is, well, what we don't want. Now we don't have any materials or UVs or anything like that, so we don't have to worry about merge. And what merge would do is merge the textures and UV material information from the original 12 objects to this new object, which we don't have to worry about. And obviously we're not dealing with animation, we're not dealing with envelope weighting or anything like that, so we don't have to worry about this area down here. Okay, so now with the original objects hidden, let's close that. This is our new object here, our new sub D object. Let's hit the plus key to subdivide this maybe a good 3 times or 4 times, whatever you want. Hit Control and the plus key to hide the cage, and now we can see our sub D high res pair of night vision goggles here ready to go. And actually there's one thing I forgot to do. I forgot to symmetrize this lens piece over here to the other side. Well, that's not a big deal, and it's good that I did this because I'm going to show you how to fix this in case this happens to you while you're working on your own projects. Let's go to polygon mode, select these polygons. We're going to right click, go to grow selection, and it's going to select all the polygons that belong to that lens. With the polygons from that lens selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to extract polygons, and I'm going to hit delete, so it gets rid of the original polygons, and I have this new object. Now if the new object selected, Alt and right click on top of it, go to Symmetrize Polygons, and change the symmetry plane normal from X to Z. And there we go. It gets it onto the other side. Now all we have to do is select the polymesh object, shift and select the lens objects right there. And then now we have these 2 objects selected. Alt and right click, go down to merge, take the tolerance down, hit the hide button, and that's it. Actually, we should hit the delete button. That way we can get rid of this duplicate object. So let's hit delete. And it got rid of the original object. So now we have this new object. So select it, subdivide it a few times, have a look at it, and now it's good to go. Awesome. Great. This looks magnificent. It's high res, ready to go. You can use it for any high res renders that you need to do. You can also use it to normal map onto a lower res pair of night vision goggles in case you're doing something for a next gen game. And there we go. Okay. Alright. So with that done, let's select the object. Down res it all the way by hitting the minus key on the keyboard, on the number pad of the keyboard. Let's hit the freeze M button to freeze modeling on this object. Clean it up. And now all we have to do is export this object out. Okay. So with this object selected, let's take this image clip viewer. We don't need it anymore. It already served its purpose. Thank you, reference picture. So let's close that. Let's go up to File. Let's go to Export. And then let's go to .xsi. So click on that. The default options are fine. You don't need to change them. Hit OK. Exercise is going to ask you what you want to call this object you're exporting. Obviously, Polymesh 1 is not what we want. So let's just give it the name NVG, which stands for Night Vision Goggles. And it's going to put it in the .xsi folder of our project directory, which happens to be i3 tutorials, intro, sub-D modeling. So it's going to place it here in the .xsi folder along with all the other objects. Hit OK. It saves it out, and we're done. That does it for the night vision goggles.